I spent 7 years worshipping Charlie, and I finally made it. I went from his most devoted groupie to his official boyfriend. Then the one that got away came back to the US. I was humiliated by him and his friends, so I decided to break up. My friend asked me, "Can you really let him go? You love him so much." I just smiled and said nothing. That night, I ended up in my first love's bed. Gavin, I'm so sad. I sobbed against my ex's six-pack. He was absolutely heartbroken for me. I was dragging my suitcase home when I ran into a guy on his way out. He was Charlie's new assistant, clean-cut and good-looking. He wore a tailored white shirt and dress pants with a pair of handmade leather shoes. They were the same brand Charlie always wore, way above a normal assistant's pay grade. His eyes flickered away guiltily when he saw me, but he quickly composed himself and said hello. "Leo, you're back?" "Yeah." "Good evening." I pretended not to see the hickey on his neck. Charlie appeared at the door, wearing nothing but a deep blue silk robe. He leaned against the doorframe, his striking eyes half open, his hair still damp. He was holding a Boucheron bag. "You forgot this." The assistant immediately went and took the bag. "Thank you, Mr. White." Before leaving, he shot me a look of smug contempt. Suddenly, my suitcase felt a lot heavier. Inside was the gift I'd saved up for 6 months to buy for Charlie. It wasn't even worth a fraction of the Boucheron trinket he'd just casually given away. Charlie didn't show the slightest hint of being caught. He just asked, "Why are you back early?" I forced a smile. "I wanted to surprise you." He looked me straight in the eye, his gaze flat and emotionless. "Don't do this again. I don't like it." "Okay." I stepped inside. He asked, "Should I have the housekeeper make you a late-night snack?" "No thanks. I already ate." The truth was, the budget airline didn't serve food, so I hadn't even had dinner. But I couldn't stomach anything right now. I felt sick. I went upstairs to the guest room to shower. When I came out, I found Charlie half sitting on the bed. He beckoned me over. I went to him, and he flipped me onto my back, burying his head in my neck. He started moving lower. I could see his chiseled abs just by looking down. His warm breath carried the faint scent of roses. That wasn't his usual cologne. I gave him a little push. "Why was your assistant here?" "Dropping off some files." "Then why did you say he forgot something at your place?" "His suitcase was full on our last business trip, so I brought something back for him. He forgot to take it." "You packed something for him? Who's the assistant here, you or him?" Charlie let out an annoyed TSK. He rolled off the bed and walked right out of the guest room. I met Charlie in college. He was the big man on campus. Student body president, the hottest guy around, top of his major. Not only was he handsome and smart, but he came from a wealthy family. He had countless admirers. I was one of them. The first time I saw his profile, my heart hammered in my chest. But unlike the others who gave up when they couldn't get his attention, I was unusually persistent. It wasn't until later that I learned why I succeeded. It wasn't because of my superior sycophant skills. It was because, out of all his groupies, I looked the most like the one that got away. He had a lot of flings and never settled down, even after we got together. It was like he was collecting trophies, constantly finding guys who resembled his old flame. When I woke up the next day, Charlie was already gone. I found out from his friend's social media feed that he'd taken yesterday's assistant to a shooting range. I packed up my things and my feelings. Then I left for the office. It was a weekday, and unlike Mr. White, I couldn't just do whatever I wanted. After working overtime, I used his friend's location tag to find them at a bar. When I pushed open the door to the private room, the little assistant was sitting right next to him, holding a glass of wine to his lips. Unlike his awkwardness yesterday, the assistant looked at me today and snuggled even closer to Charlie. "Charlie, won't you drink this for me?" he cooed, his voice soft and cloying. His eyes were fixed on me triumphantly. Charlie was looking at me too. Everyone in the room was watching me, waiting for the drama to unfold. I walked over and looked down at the assistant. "Are you a sales rep? You're really pushing the drinks." My eyes swept. Over the crowded table, half the bottles already empty. "In that case, let's open another 10 bottles of Chateau Lafite to boost your sales numbers." I looked at the stunned assistant and reached for the glass in his hand. "Put it on Charlie's tab." "Kid, that's not how you sell drinks." With that, I sat down right on Charlie's lap. I took a sip of wine, grabbed Charlie's hair to tilt his head back, and kissed him. I passed the wine from my mouth to his. The moment my lips touched his, he wrapped his arms around my waist. He took control, plundering the wine from my mouth. The sound was wet, seductive. He didn't let go until every last drop was gone and my tongue was numb. I buried my face in his shoulder, catching my breath. I turned my head to gaze lovingly at the small mole on the side of his nose. Then my eyes drifted to the dumbfounded assistant. I smirked. See? That's how you close a deal. Charlie's asshole friends erupted in laughter around us. Hey kid. Learn from your big bro Leo. Our Charlie likes him spicy. Leo, my man. Give me a smooch and I'll buy you 10 bottles of Romanicanti. Charlie's deadly glare shot toward the loudmouth. The guy immediately shut up. He took a sulky sip of his drink. Just kidding. Don't be so possessive, Charlie. The assistant, having snapped out of it, turned beet red. He actually bolted from the room. I purred in Charlie's ear. Charlie, aren't you going to chase after your little assistant? Charlie leaned back on the sofa. Lazy. You want me to? Then you'll have to get off me first. I raised an eyebrow and made a move to get up. But the arm around my waist didn't loosen one bit. He wouldn't let me go. Because he was hard. Charlie has a very high sex drive. Coincidentally, we were a perfect match in bed. He never denies himself anything. He just pulled me into the private room's bathroom and started pulling at my pants. There are people right outside. I resisted, holding on to my clothes. Let go, he said, his voice turning cold. Afraid of making him angry again, I let go. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed the mole on the side of his perfect nose. We were in the bathroom for over half an hour. When we came out, most people had left. Only his childhood friend, Mark, was still there, playing on his phone. He saw us and raised an eyebrow. Sounds like a fierce battle in there. I looked away, avoiding his gaze. Charlie just grabbed his suit jacket from the sofa. We're leaving. Mark immediately said, I didn't drive. Mind giving me a ride home? He lived in the same complex as Charlie. Charlie nodded. Sure. His phone suddenly rang. He glanced at it and said to Mark and me, wait for me at the entrance. Then he picked up the room's remote and turned off the music. I thought it was a call from a business partner, so I stepped out to give him some space. I walked in silence with Mark to the hotel's side entrance. The driver was already waiting with the car. Just before I got in, he called out to me. Leo, do you know who Charlie's talking to? I looked at Mark's seemingly friendly, harmless smile and reconsidered my earlier guess. He didn't keep me in suspense. It's Caleb, he said directly. Caleb. Charlie's one that got away. Mark's eyes crinkled into a smile. Caleb is coming back. If it were Caleb, Charlie would never pull him into a public restroom like that. That's not how you treat someone you love. I was in a daze the entire ride home. Caleb. I'd seen countless photos of him in an album in Charlie's study. A precious, radiant, pampered prince everyone adored. I'd pieced together from Mark that he and Charlie had dated. But he'd gone abroad to study at a music conservatory. While in a long-distance relationship with Charlie, he cheated with a white guy. But even after that, Charlie couldn't forget him. He'd even, in his pain, proposed an open relationship. No matter how many lovers Caleb had, Charlie only wanted him. It was hard to imagine someone as heartless as Charlie ever saying something like that. But every Valentine's Day, every special occasion, and on both Charlie's and Caleb's birthdays, he would fly to England. Without fail. Charlie liked me because I looked like Caleb. But now the real deal was coming back. What value did a counterfeit like me have anymore? That night, for the first time ever, I initiated sex with Charlie over and over again. My ass hurt, but my heart didn't. The thought of losing such a compatible sex partner made it hard to breathe. The next day was the weekend. A friend asked me to lunch. When we got to the restaurant, I saw the hard wooden chairs without cushions and immediately said, let's go somewhere else. I breathed a sigh of relief when we found a place with sofas. My best friend, Tina, gave me a sly look. Whoa, was it that intense last night? I calmly sipped my lemonade. I'm cherishing every moment. After all, I might be losing him soon. She made a face like she'd just tasted something sour. We'd been friends since high school and ended up at the same university. We've always been close. So, you and the great Charlie have finally made it official, huh? She asked with a smile. I shook my head. I'd never told her about his ex. I didn't want her to worry with me. But she knew how much I liked Charlie, and she knew he had a wandering eye. She tried to comfort me.
Persistance payoff.
Then she changed the subject. There's a high school reunion coming up. Are you going? I complained. It's only been a few years since graduation, and this is already the third one. Isn't it? She laughed. The class president is organizing it. He's not worried about his classmates struggling. He's worried about them driving Land Rovers, always keeping tabs on us old classmates. But I heard Gavin is going to be there this time. They say he's coming back to the US. My head shot up. After Gavin went abroad, I blocked all his contacts. Gavin's coming back? Who said? The class president, Tina, said. He said he called Gavin. She squinted at me. You don't still have feelings for him, do you? He was so ruthless when he left, dumping you like that. Don't be a fool again. I took another sip of lemonade. Of course not. Sign me up for the reunion. What day is it? The 26th. Tina splayed 2 fingers in a V sign. Then I'm going too. I'll keep an eye on you. No falling for that jerk again. Gavin was my first love, a legend at our high school. The guy was a certified genius and looked like a model. But he never held any student office, nor was he ever dragged into any of those campus hottie contests. And not a single girl or guy around dared to give him a love letter, because no one dared to disturb his studies. With his mountain of math competition awards, even the principal gave him a wide berth. Everyone called him Gavin the Genius, this untouchable, top-tier guy, and I, the school's resident troublemaker, somehow ended up together. For all of senior year, I woke up smiling from my dreams. But in the end, we broke up. Between me and math, he chose math. I'm always the one who doesn't get chosen. When I got home, before I could even open the door, it opened from the inside. A handsome, refined-looking man stood in the doorway. He paused when he saw me, then broke into a smile. Hello. May I ask who you are? My pupils constricted. It was Caleb. Charlie was in the kitchen making noodles for him. 2 suitcases, one large and one small, sat in the living room. Charlie brought out a bowl of noodles with egg. You should have told me you were coming. The fridge is empty. Caleb sat down at the table naturally, waiting for Charlie to hand him a pair of chopsticks. I wanted to surprise you. Besides, your noodles are the best. They don't need anything else to be delicious. Charlie smiled dotingly. Only then did he look at me. The smile faded a little, and his eyes flickered. Leo, did you need something? His question caught me off guard. My mouth opened, but it took a moment to find my voice. Oh, it's nothing important. You're busy. I'll go. I fled. I wandered aimlessly through the streets, from 8 o'clock until midnight. The late autumn wind chilled me to the bone. Finally, Charlie called me. Hello. Which hotel are you at? He asked. I was silent for a second before saying, I'm in Times Square. He picked me up, and we drove home in silence. Back at the house, he started, Today, Caleb doesn't know you're my boyfriend yet. I cut him off. Oh, so I'm still your boyfriend? I thought we were strangers. The kind of strangers who've slept together 1,000 times. I was devastated. Not just because of how differently Charlie treated Caleb and me, but because he wouldn't even acknowledge my status. It was as if I were something dirty he couldn't be associated with. It poked at the most hidden, most insecure part of me. My insecurity made me sharp and cruel. He'd rarely seen my bad temper. He was always the one in control in our relationship. My words made his face freeze, and he stopped talking. He shut down completely, refusing to communicate. Just like all the other times I'd pissed him off, the silent treatment. I was invited to Caleb's welcome home party. In the grand ballroom, Caleb was surrounded by a crowd, while I stood in a corner, ignored. Just as I was about to slip away unnoticed, Mark walked over, that same fake smile plastered on his face. Leo, just walk away, he said. Charlie loves Caleb. They love each other. Why do you have to force yourself between them and be the other man? I looked at him, my expression cold. You have Charlie tell me that himself. Even if you two are thick as thieves, you can't break up with me for him. Don't overstep your bounds. Mark's face went pale for a second, then hardened. I know what you people are after, cozying up to Charlie. If you disappear from their lives right now, I can give you a condo downtown and $1 million cash. I stared at him for a long moment, then suddenly laughed. That's a much worse offer than my ex-boyfriend's mom gave me. Mark, are you in love with Caleb? He froze, his expression turning colder. Don't push your luck. I have plenty of ways to make someone like you disappear from this city. My smile became more mocking. You love Caleb, but he's never given you the time of day. Has he? It must be tough having to push him and Charlie together. That's some pretty selfless love you've got there. His face grew even uglier. Just as he was about to retaliate, Caleb suddenly walked over. The crowd's attention followed him. He looked at me sincerely. Leo, I'm so sorry. The other day, I didn't know you were Charlie's boyfriend. I looked at Charlie standing beside him and smiled. It's fine. The other day, I didn't know I wasn't either. Charlie's face darkened for a split second, but he smoothed it over before Caleb could see. Caleb didn't notice. He innocently pulled me along to drink and mingle. I could clearly see the contempt in the eyes of the people who raised their glasses to me. Right? I was one of those people. They were the ones on a higher pedestal, all in the same class. But I couldn't refuse, not under Charlie's watch. One glass of champagne after another went down. Feeling tipsy, I went to the restroom and splashed cold water on my face. But before I could even lift my head, someone grabbed me and held me down. My head was shoved under the faucet. They blocked the drain, and the sink quickly filled with water. My face was forced into the basin. The terror of choking and drowning made me struggle wildly, but I couldn't lift my head an inch. Water flooded my windpipe, and I felt a searing pain through my entire body. My consciousness started to fade. The hand holding my head suddenly let go. I lifted my head from the sink, stumbled back 2 steps, and collapsed on the floor, coughing violently. Through a blur, I saw Charlie punch Mark several times. Hard. Get out, Charlie finally commanded. Mark wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and smiled. Nonchalantly, I can go, but Charlie, don't forget this is Caleb's party. He's being polite, but your little lover here is really pushing it. You should keep him in line. He shot me a disdainful look and turned to leave. Charlie watched Mark's back, his face a mask of cold fury, like a wolf whose territory had been invaded. Only after Mark was gone did he look back at me, his expression softening slightly. He knelt in front of me and wiped my face with a handkerchief. I'll have my assistant take you home first. I'll give you an explanation for this. I grabbed the hand holding the handkerchief and asked softly, Aren't you coming with me? He was silent for 2 seconds before saying, I can't leave tonight. You go home first. Be good. He helped me up and called his assistant over. It wasn't the clean-cut boy from the other day, but his usual executive assistant. The assistant draped Charlie's spare suit jacket over my shoulders. As Charlie prepared to leave and return to the party, I suddenly spoke up. If I said that if you don't come with me tonight, we're breaking up, what would you choose, Charlie? Charlie frowned, a flash of annoyance and warning in his eyes. Leo, don't be childish. Suddenly, I felt like it was all pointless. I turned to leave first. As I walked past him, I said, I'm serious. Let's break up. Charlie instinctively grabbed my wrist. I looked back at him. Our eyes met for a moment. He was the first to look away. Take Mr. Lee home to rest, he said to his assistant. I let out a sarcastic little laugh. There was a way to get from the restroom to the elevators without going through the main hall. Before we reached the elevators, I saw from a distance that a set of doors was just about to close. There were only 5 or 6 people inside. The assistant quickened his pace but then slowed down again when he realized he wouldn't make it. But a fleeting glimpse of someone in that elevator rooted me to the spot. Is something wrong, sir? After a moment, I said to the assistant, I left my lighter in the restroom. Could you go back and get it for me? The assistant hesitated. I tilted my head and just stared at him without speaking. We stood there in a standoff for a few seconds before he caved. Of course, sir. Please wait here for a moment. After the assistant left, a server passed by with a tray of champagne. Excuse me, I called out, taking a glass from the tray. I downed most of it in one go, then poured the rest down the front of my shirt. I was wearing a black button-down, which clung to my skin when wet but wasn't see-through. I placed the empty glass back on the tray and asked the server, Do I smell strongly of alcohol? The server looked at me like I was insane but, out of professional courtesy, answered, Yes, you do, sir. I nodded. Thank you. Without waiting for the assistant, I quickly took the stairs down. The ballroom was on the 3rd floor. My high school classroom was also on the 3rd floor. I'd walked so fast that I was slightly out of breath when I reached the hotel lobby. My face was probably flushed, making me look even more like a drunk. I saw that strange, yet familiar, back standing by the entrance. I took a deep breath, letting my eyes go hazy. I pulled out my phone and called Tina. Hello, Leo. I broke up with Charlie. What happened? What's wrong, honey? Did Charlie hurt you? Where are you? I didn't answer. I just swayed on my feet like a drunk. I mumbled into the phone as I stumbled outside. Didn't drink much. I kept my head down, watching my feet. Unsurprisingly, I bumped into someone. I lost my grip on my phone, and it went flying. The impact sent me stumbling backward, about to fall. The person I'd bumped into turned around, a look of indifference on his face. But the moment he saw me clearly, that detached coldness turned to shock. Without thinking, he reached out and grabbed me as I fell. Inertia pulled me into his arms. A strange scent. He smelled different now, but that little red mole on the side of his nose hadn't changed at all. Who's this? Some drunk? His friend next to him frowned. I'll get hotel staff to take him away. Gavin, didn't you have somewhere to be? You go ahead. Don't worry about it. No, Gavin retorted immediately. I was in his arms, and I could feel his entire body tense up, completely rigid. Don't call anyone. He softened his tone and said to his friend, I know him. This is my friend. Hearing Gavin say that, a quick-witted person nearby picked up my phone from the ground. Gavin took it, but unfortunately, the fragile screen of the iPhone was shattered. It was unusable. He put the phone away and looked down at me, asking softly, Leo, where do you live? I'll take you home. I looked up, dazed, my voice slurring. Home. No home. I wanna go to a bar. Keep drinking. Under the guise of being drunk, I openly studied Gavin. He looked much more mature than he had in high school. His features were more defined, giving him a colder, more unapproachable air. He seemed to have gotten much taller. Back then, I was 5 feet 7 inches and only came up to his chin. Now I'm 5 feet 10 inches and still only come up to his chin. His shoulders had broadened, too. He'd become an adult who could shelter someone from the storm. I smiled. You look, kind of familiar. My eyes suddenly started to sting. I didn't want to cry when Charlie flaunted his flings in my face. I didn't want to cry when his ex came back and I was left in the cold. But just seeing Gavin made my eyes burn and my heart ache. I tried to hold it back, but I couldn't. Tears streamed down my face. Why weren't you by my side? Gavin took me back to his place. I didn't stop my drunken antics. When he tried to give me honey water, I accidentally knocked the cup from his hand. It shattered on the floor, sending glass shards and water everywhere. Leo! His voice was stern. In the old days, if he'd said my name like that, I would have immediately straightened up, meeker than a quail. But tonight I was a drunk. I feared nothing. You yelled at me. The tears I just managed to stop started falling again without warning. He came over and carried me to a beanbag chair in the corner of the living room. He explained in a low voice, I didn't yell at you. You're not wearing shoes and I was afraid you'd step on the glass. You did yell. You yelled at me. You're mean. He tried to soothe me, which only made me feel more aggrieved. An unprecedented wave of emotion washed over me. I cried inconsolably. He was at a complete loss, able to do nothing but hold me and whisper reassurances, trying to reason with someone who was only pretending to be drunk. Finally, I cried myself tired and stopped, whimpering. My eyes hurt. He wrapped some ice in a towel and pressed it to my eyes. When the swelling went down a bit, I said, I wanna take a shower. His whole body tensed up. You shouldn't shower when you're drunk. Who wanted to hear that? I unsteadily got up myself and, without slippers, started walking toward the mess of glass shards. He hadn't had a chance to clean up yet. I didn't get 2 steps before Gavin scooped me up and carried me in the other direction. His tone was resigned. The bathroom is this way. He carried me into the bathroom and found me a new toothbrush and towel. He asked in a negotiating tone, if I don't watch you, you won't fall in the shower, right? I didn't answer, pretending to be too drunk to understand. Of course I would fall if he wasn't watching. At least a sprained ankle. If I played my cards right, maybe even a fracture. Force Gavin to take responsibility for me. Having gotten no answer, Gavin hesitated, not daring to leave. I turned my back to him and started taking off my clothes. It looked clumsy, but every move was carefully calculated. The breathing behind me suddenly grew heavier. After taking off my shirt, I turned on the shower. The icy water hit my skin. My body shivered uncontrollably. Gavin strode forward and adjusted the water to a warm temperature. He stood just a step behind me, not leaving, seemingly afraid I would fall. I fumbled with my pants, mumbling, Can't get it off. He sighed, took a step forward, and started unbuckling my belt. My back was pressed against his chest, his hands reaching around me as if in an embrace. I instinctively turned my head, trying to kiss him, but he turned his head away, and my lips met empty air. I wanted to cry again. The pants came off smoothly. I turned around and wrapped my arms around his neck. My voice was thick with tears. Don't you love me anymore? His whole body went rigid. I really started crying then. You, Hick, don't want me anymore? Leo, you're drunk. He said my name so quickly and softly, it sounded like a nickname. A sudden wave of panic washed over me. We had been apart for too long. Maybe he had found someone new. Maybe he didn't love me anymore. The mere thought of it made me tremble with fear. Don't cry, Leo. A flash of pain crossed Gavin's face as he cupped my cheeks. I looked at him through blurry, tear-filled eyes. Are you going to regret this when you're sober tomorrow? I couldn't answer because I wasn't drunk at all. He seemed to know he wouldn't get an answer and gave a self-deprecating smile. Forget it. If you regret it, you can just hit me. He pressed his hand to the back of my neck and kissed me deeply. The water was hot, but the bathroom tiles felt cool against my back. My entire body ached. Gavin had managed to maintain a facade of gentleness at first, but later, he fully reverted to his tyrannical nature. When I woke up, I was alone in the bed. I stared blankly for a moment. Then I buried my face in the duvet, trying to inhale Gavin's scent. Does your head hurt? A hand stroked my hair from the crown of my head down, finally stopping to gently squeeze the back of my neck. I shot up and looked at Gavin, who was kneeling by the bed. He asked, how much did you drink last night? 2 glasses of champagne. I wouldn't dare tell him the truth. I don't remember. I looked at him. I probably should have acted out a scene like, how did I get here? What happened? Oh my God. Did we actually? But looking at him, I suddenly felt none of that was necessary. I reached out my hand to him. He stood up and pulled me into his arms. This feels like a dream, I murmured. I asked him, when did you get back? Last week. He picked up the clothes he'd laid out on the nightstand and started helping me dress. Time for breakfast. I wrapped my arms around his neck, clinging to him like an octopus. He carried me to the dining table like a child, letting me sit on his lap while I ate. When I was finished, he handed me my phone. I got your phone fixed. I took it, and as soon as it turned on, Tina's call came through. Leo, are you okay? Couldn't reach you all night. Do you know how worried I was? I was so afraid you'd do something rash. It's not that serious. My phone just broke yesterday. Tina breathed a sigh of relief, then hesitated for a moment. Were you serious yesterday? Can you really let him go? You love him so much. I rolled over, lying on my side on the sofa with my head resting on Gavin's thigh. I gave her a couple of non-committal answers and hung up. After ending the call, my expression suddenly turned glum. I looked up at Gavin. Gavin, I'm so sad. My ex was still seeing other people while he was with me. Turns out I was just a substitute. I buried my face in his abs and fake cried. Gavin was absolutely heartbroken for me. While getting his master's in the US, Gavin won a Fields Medal. Upon returning home, he was hired by a top university as an associate professor. If it weren't for the local emphasis on seniority, his resume was more impressive than some of the full professors in the math department. He'd been busy with his new job, and this apartment was just a temporary rental. When I told him I needed to move, he said I could stay with him for a while to transition. Gavin really is the most understanding person in the world. It was already afternoon when I got back to Charlie's villa. I planned to grab my important things and leave. The unimportant stuff could just be thrown out by the housekeeper. I didn't expect to see Charlie sitting on the living room sofa the moment I opened the door. I paused, then resumed my composure. I'm just here to pack my things. Then I'll be gone. Where have you been? His gaze was dark, his voice laced with an undisguised mix of annoyance and exhaustion. I've dealt with Mark. He's going abroad. He won't show up in front of you again. Charlie's voice broke off the moment he saw me, his tone shifting as he demanded, "Whose clothes are those? Where the hell were you last night?" I bypassed the living room and went straight upstairs. "We've already broken up. I don't need to report my whereabouts to you anymore." Charlie strode toward me and pinned me against the staircase. With the slight movement, the hickeys on my neck peeked out from under my collar. Charlie's eyes turned red instantly. He ripped open my shirt. The buttons scattered across the floor. The marks on my body were on full display. I was angry. I clutched the torn shirt. "Are you insane? Leo, did you sleep with someone else?" His voice turned menacing. His eyes, filled with a towering rage, were locked on me. I suddenly found it hilarious. "What, have you never cheated? Rules for thee but not for me? Besides, it's not cheating. I made it perfectly clear yesterday we're broken up. Where I go and who I sleep with is my business." Charlie's eyes were bloodshot as he gripped my neck. "Who was it? Who dared to touch you?" I rolled my eyes. Even though he had me pinned, I felt no fear, only a sense of irony. I said coldly, "Charlie, who are you putting on this act for? I'm not Caleb. Do you really care who I sleep with? In front of Caleb, you didn't even have the guts to admit I was your boyfriend. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? You don't have to figure out how to dump me anymore. I'm leaving on my own." Charlie's hands fell away, defeated. "Leo, let's talk this out. I know you love me. Don't do something to cheapen yourself just because you're angry." I laughed in disbelief. How had I never noticed how arrogant this guy was? I didn't want to talk to him anymore. I went straight upstairs, got my suitcase and started packing. Half an hour later, I dragged my suitcase downstairs. "I'm leaving with only what I brought when I came here. You can have the housekeeper throw everything else away. Charlie, I hope you can make it clear to your friends that I was never your kept lover. I never wanted a single penny from you." All those years with Charlie, I'd had enough of his friends' mocking, condescending looks. I never really cared, but if Gavin knew, it would break his heart. I moved in with Gavin. It felt natural, like we were a couple living together. This was the life I had dreamed of with him countless times in high school. It was long overdue. Charlie didn't try to contact me again. He's a very proud person, and after the harsh words I'd said, I figured he wouldn't. I never expected the first person to reach out to be Caleb. In the coffee shop, he stared at me, a little lost in thought. "We're not alike at all, actually." Charlie was just lying to himself. "You know about his parents, right?" I nodded. Charlie's father's affair led to his mother's depression and eventual suicide. That's why he wants to be a faithful person. That's why he tricks himself into thinking he only loves me. Caleb's smile was bitter. "But he doesn't love me anymore. I told him how I felt the other day, and he rejected me. He's waiting for you. He's just too proud to admit it." I shook my head at Caleb. "I don't think so. I never felt that Charlie liked me. Maybe you're mistaken. And from start to finish, I never thought Charlie was a faithful person. He's a completely promiscuous bastard." "Then why did you like him?" Caleb frowned. I traced the rim of my coffee cup with my finger and forced a smile. "Because the mole on the side of his nose is in the exact same spot as my first love's. But his mole is black. My first love's is red. A fake is a fake. Now that my ruby is back, I don't need a sesame seed. You can tell Charlie exactly what I said. In fact, I hope you do." After I finished, I stood up, said goodbye to Caleb, and left. It was Friday. Gavin had said he'd pick me up after work. But as I left the coffee shop, I suddenly got a message from him saying something came up and I should go home on my own. I didn't think much of it. He had been really busy lately. But then Tina called. Holy shit. You'll never guess who I just saw at the bar. "Who?" I asked, uninterested. "Tina. Your ex-boyfriend. Is that supposed to be surprising?" Charlie was a regular at bars. Your genius, super good at math ex-boyfriend. My grip on the phone suddenly tightened. I took a cab to the bar and found Tina. She led me around to a private room. Gavin went into this room. "Wait, you guys broke up so long ago. Are you still in love with him?" "Honestly, I think he and Charlie are two sides of the same coin. After how he treated you back then." "Shoo." I pressed a finger to my lips. Tina reluctantly shut up. This was the private room Charlie booked year-round. I'd been here many times and knew this large room had another entrance. I led Tina through the back door and we hid in the shadows of a corner. Not too far, but not too close to the two of them. In the room, Charlie and Gavin sat facing each other. Charlie slammed a stack of photos onto the coffee table. A teacher, huh? Tell me, if your students and colleagues found out their esteemed professor willingly became someone's side piece, what would they think? Think you could keep your job? Gavin was backlit, so I couldn't see his expression. Tina's eyes widened. She whispered, "Holy shit. What's going on? What side piece? Whose side piece?" Charlie's being so aggressive. I hope Gavin's not at a disadvantage. Gavin at a disadvantage? The only person Gavin had ever lost to was me. Sure enough, a moment later, Gavin spoke slowly, a playful tone in his voice. "Charlie, is it? How do you define side piece? The one who came later, or the one who isn't loved? By either definition, that would be you." Even with Charlie's back to me, I could imagine the ugly look on his face. His voice was icy. "You abandoned Leo and went abroad. He'll never forgive you. He's just throwing a tantrum with me right now. Once he cools off, he'll come back to me." Gavin scoffed. "You really don't know Leo at all. Leo has a bad temper. Once he makes a decision, he'll run straight into a brick wall before he turns back. But he was always good-tempered with you, wasn't he?" Gavin let out a short, sharp laugh, dripping with mockery. "He was playing you. In high school, he was bold enough to make me give him head in the library. What makes you think he's some innocent little angel? He was willing to humor you before because you had some value to him, like being a good vibrator. But he doesn't need you anymore. Because I'm back." Gavin stood up and looked down at Charlie. Charlie, 28 years old, graduate of... He casually reeled off a string of Charlie's personal information, some of which even I didn't know. Finally, he smirked. "You can try to come after me. Let's see what drops faster. My professorship or white corporation stock price." As he was about to leave, his gaze swept over the shadows and he stopped. I stepped out of the darkness and walked toward him, step by step. Charlie followed his gaze and looked at me, instinctively reaching out. "Leo." I walked around him to stand in front of Gavin, staring at Charlie. "What the hell do you want? Why are you bothering Gavin?" Charlie looked at me in disbelief. "Leo, what am I to you?" "A substitute," I said, my voice sharp and final. "A stand-in for the one that got away. A vibrator. A sex doll. Pick whichever title you like. I never saw you as a lover, which is why I never cared how many people were in your bed or who was in your heart. So, stop bothering me and stop harassing my boyfriend." I shot Charlie a venomous glare. He froze, as if all the life had been sucked out of him in an instant. I didn't spare him another glance. I just took Gavin's hand and left. Once we were outside the bar, I let go of his hand and pushed him to walk in front of me. I followed half a step behind, stepping on his shadow. He tried to turn around, but I pushed his back, not letting him turn, not letting him hold my hand. After walking for a long time, I suddenly asked, "Gavin, I'm so awful. Why do you still like me? Can I turn around?" "No, just answer like this." He seemed to let out a resigned sigh. "I should be asking you that question. Why do I love you so much? Did you cast a spell on me?" I stopped walking and seriously considered the question. Gavin walked a couple of steps ahead, and when he realized I wasn't following, he walked back to me. My eyes grew moist. I wrapped my arms around him from behind. I buried my face in his back, my voice muffled as I whispered, "I thought you would hate me." He was silent for a moment before admitting, "I did hate you. I was the one who pursued Gavin. For all of sophomore year, I followed him around like a puppy. I successfully won over the untouchable prize. After we got together, he was so good to me, giving me whatever I wanted. I wasn't the type to follow rules, so he broke them with me, until his family found out. His mother asked to meet with me. She offered me $5 million to leave him, to leave the city. She said she could buy me a property in any other city, even a penthouse in the financial district. That's what I asked at the time. The elegant Mrs. Johnston took a sip of her coffee and smiled. "Of course. You're very generous, ma'am." I marveled. Mrs. Johnston smiled. "Because my son is worth more than all of this. Leo, I know you're not a bad kid, but Gavin is the culmination of 3 generations of our family's hopes. He is meant for a career in academia. It's a difficult path, and we all hope he finds a like-minded partner. But now, because of you, he doesn't even want to study abroad. You don't know this, but there's still a significant gap between domestic and international research in mathematics and physics. Gavin has a gift. He loves math. Can you bear to see him give up his noble ambitions for a fleeting romance? Besides, you're both young and willing to sacrifice everything for love now. But later, if he ends up mediocre, will he look back on this and regret it? Will he resent you or even hate you? Mrs. Johnston was very persuasive. Her words made me scared. Or maybe I just felt so small and ashamed in front of her. I started giving Gavin the cold shoulder. I ignored his messages, disappeared on him, gave him the silent treatment. Tina always thought Gavin was the one who dumped me so cruelly. But it was me. I was the one who forced Gavin to choose math. I did hate you, but then I saw how much pain you were in, and my heart ached for you. The wind carried Gavin's voice to my ears, sad like him. Leo, what could I do? He turned around and stroked my face. He lowered his head, pressing his forehead against mine. That's what I asked myself back then. And I realized that your pain and my pain all stemmed from my own powerlessness. I couldn't fight my family's arrangements, and I couldn't make you feel any less sad. I looked up at his pale smile. I shook my head desperately, the ache in my heart spilling out as tears. Don't cry. Every time you cry, I feel so useless. He wiped my tears away. I've worked so hard just to keep you from shedding another tear. Leo. Tina interrogated me for an hour. When she learned the truth about what happened back then, she yelled, "You're a real piece of work. How could you?" That was Gavin the genius. I hung my head sheepishly. The reunion happened as scheduled. Gavin was working late, so I arrived at the restaurant's private room first. Well, a rare sight. Our campus heartthrob Leo actually showed up. Come on, sit. Some classmates I knew from back then teased me, and the class president greeted me warmly. There were 5 tables in the large room. I was placed at the 3rd table. Tina sat to my right, and a girl I didn't know well sat to my left. I looked up and saw that the table was already full, and everyone was a girl. Hey, class president, can I switch tables? The class president, who now had a potbelly, was busy making toasts. He looked over and slapped his thigh. Who arranged this? They threw our heartthrob into a hen house. Why don't you come join our table? Before I could answer, the old student treasurer spoke up. Then who would move? We only have 9 golden flowers in our class. If any of us guys moved over, they wouldn't be happy. Leo is safe, they're all comfortable with him. You're all like sisters, right? I looked at the treasurer's malicious expression, speechless. Tina whispered in my ear, the president and treasurer are jealous of you. Jealous of what? Jealous that Gavin used to follow you around like a puppy. They were both his biggest fans. Not satisfied, the treasurer continued his passive-aggressive jabs. Our heartthrob got dumped by the genius back in the day. The genius is coming today, too. I wonder how you're feeling. The girl to my left flew into a rage, slamming her hand on the table. Treasurer, we're all here to have a good time. Do you have to be such a buzzkill? His words sparked a wave of agreement from the other girls at the table. Exactly. Leo, don't mind them. A bunch of balding old men. I'll introduce you to someone handsome. Do you have a boyfriend now? I work in finance, we have a couple of great guys at our firm. I'm a talent agent now. How about I set you up with a hot young thing? The treasurer's face turned a sickly shade of green. A few of the guys who never liked me muttered under their breath, "Fucking faggot." The door to the private room opened again. The room instantly fell silent, then erupted like water hitting a hot oil pan. Gavin, you really came. Gavin, you're back. Come sit at this table. The class president beckoned Gavin to the first table. Gavin gave a slight nod to everyone, his eyes scanning the room. When his gaze finally met mine, he walked straight toward me. Tina, who was in on the secret, quickly stood up to give him her seat. He waved his hand. No need. He just pulled over an empty chair and squeezed in between me and Tina. I'll just squeeze in. We're all sisters here. Nobody minds, right? The faces around the room were a gallery of priceless expressions. The girls all snickered. We don't mind, we don't mind. Our table is full of skinny people. This is the only table that could fit another chair. If it were one of the others, TSK. Someone glanced pointedly at the treasurer's large belly. I leaned over and whispered to Gavin, how long were you eavesdropping outside? I wasn't. Just got here. I hadn't planned on drinking, but the girls at this table were relentless. Gavin doesn't touch alcohol, and no one dared to toast him. What if they damaged the genius's brain cells needed for math? So I silently drank his share for him. By the end, I was about 70% drunk. Gavin had his arm around me as we left the restaurant. He had driven. I sat in the passenger seat, drowsy. I don't even know when we got home. When I came to my senses, I was already on the sofa. Gavin had made me a glass of honey water and was helping me drink it. I drank it all from his hand. He put down the empty glass and chuckled. Looks like you're really drunk today. So well behaved. My brain wasn't working. All I knew was to reach out for a hug. My tongue was thick as I asked him, Gavin, are you back? Yes, I'm back. Do you like me? I love you. Love who? I love Leo. Gavin loves Leo. You're lying. You found a new girlfriend so fast. A girl. I was lying to you. I didn't. There's only you. Really? Really, you little drunk. Gavin's extra. I once heard a teacher say that Leo was a bad seed, that he would be a menace to society when he grew up. I later came to believe that, but they got one thing wrong. Leo only ever became a menace to me. For all of freshman year, Leo and I had no interaction. In sophomore year, for whatever reason, maybe he lost a bet, he started chasing me. Even when he was mocked by classmates, reprimanded by teachers, and given detention, he remained stubbornly unrepentant, as fiery as the sun. But after we got together, I discovered it was false advertising. The sunny, cheerful personality was a facade. The real him was difficult and melancholic. Leo had depression related to his upbringing. It wasn't severe, but he would often get moody for no reason. He was my boyfriend, so of course I had to coax him out of it. I also got him to study more. If he was studying, he didn't have time to be depressed. When I found out my mom had approached him, my first reaction wasn't anger, but fear. I was afraid he'd be provoked into doing something irreversible. The outcome was slightly better than the worst-case scenario. He just wanted to break up with me. I could guess what my mom had said to him. I explained to him over and over again that it wouldn't be like that staying in the country didn't mean giving up on math. It was never a choice between him and math. But he got stuck on it. In the end, I did as he wished and went abroad. But I still worried about him. I had someone keep an eye on him. He ended up getting into a near-fatal car accident. Because he was distracted and distraught. I flew back, dragged him to the hospital, and only then did I learn that his depression had worsened to the point of causing physical symptoms. Leo, what do you really want? I asked him, but I already knew why he had made a choice that caused him so much pain. For my ridiculously great future. Leo is a child who desperately needs companionship and love. But for my sake, he gave me up. Leo, I'm dating a blonde American girl. You don't have to feel guilty. I'm doing great now. You need to look forward. Find someone else you like. The day I told him that was the first time I ever got drunk. Eventually, Leo really did find a new boyfriend. The guy was decent looking with a decent career and family. Someone to distract him. His illness slowly got better. I should have been happy for him, but I was the one who started having sleepless nights. I fulfilled everyone's wishes. I got into top schools, won awards, and became successful. Then, I went against my family's wishes and came back. I timed it perfectly, returning at the same time as Leo's new boyfriend's ex. My plan was to snatch Leo back while that man was hesitating. I had only loaned him my treasure for a while. It was never really his. But before I could even make a move, Leo appeared before me, pretending to be drunk, seducing me. He has a high tolerance for alcohol. He probably doesn't even know what he's like when he's truly drunk. When he's really drunk, he's very docile and will do anything I ask. He only acts up and deliberately makes things difficult when he's feeling down or insecure. My treasure flew back to me on its own. He asks me if I hate him. I say yes. But Leo, the hate I have for you is not even 1/10,000th of my love for you.